Welcome back, football romantics and tacticians alike, to episode 21 of our World Cup 2026 series. We are deep into the knockout rounds now, and the air is getting incredibly thin. I'm Arthur, here as always with my brilliant daughter Nora. We are standing on the precipice of the grand finale. The stadiums are humming, the history books are wide open, and the ghosts of tournaments past are definitely making their presence felt.
And the data models are absolutely lighting up. Hi everyone, Nora here. You might call them ghosts, Dad, but I call them data points converging into the ultimate statistical climax of this 48-team ecosystem. The margins are razor thin, the expected goals are highly volatile under this kind of pressure, and the tactical fallout from these past two matches has been nothing short of spectacular. We have so much to unpack today.
We truly do. Let's start by looking back at what we just witnessed. We'll take it match by match, beginning with that fascinating clash where Spain dismantled France, winning 2-0. You know, sitting in the stands, you could just feel the sands of time shifting for the French side. They looked tired, almost burdened by their own recent history. Meanwhile, Spain showed the absolute value of the collective. It was a masterclass in control. Oyarzabal and Porro sinking a remarkably sorry-looking French team. I read a brilliant piece by Sid Lowe describing how lethal Spain was in executing their plan to perfection. The atmosphere was incredible, but as a neutral, you had to feel a bit of angst for Kylian Mbappé walking off that pitch.
That collective control you're talking about translates directly into some brutal metrics for France. If we look at their expected goals on target, or XGOT, it was practically non-existent in the second half. Spain restricted them beautifully. The Spanish defensive line maintained such a high block that France's big chances created completely dried up. And Spain wasn't just passing for the sake of it. Their XG and XSA per 90 metrics this tournament have been incredibly efficient. They didn't overcommit, but when Porro found that space, the probability of him converting was mathematically undeniable. France just couldn't manage their interceptions per 90, and they got caught out. What did the numbers say? That Spain was surgically precise, leaving France with nothing but high expected goals against.
Surgical is the right word. But let's move from the surgical to the absolute chaotic beauty of England versus Argentina. Goodness me, Nora, a rivalry reborn, meeting at a World Cup for the first time in 24 years. You could feel the generations of history clashing the moment they stepped onto the grass. Tuchel and Scaloni kept it relatively chill beforehand, but once that whistle blew, it was electric. When Gordon put England in front, the commentary box was screaming, "The world champions are on the ropes!" You had Pickford making a sensational save early on, Spence thwarting a massive Argentine counterattack with an immaculate sliding tackle. It had everything: the grit, the tackles, the scuffles. Seeing Anderson get a yellow for that challenge on Messi, and then the tension rising when Fernandes fouled Anderson right back. It was classic, unadulterated World Cup drama.
The drama was definitely backed up by some intense underlying numbers. You mentioned Pickford's saves. Looking at the XGOT metric, Mac Allister had a pair of headers that absolutely should have been goals. Pickford and the crossbar kept England alive. But Argentina's constant pressure was bound to break through. Their shots on target per 90 in that second half spiked dramatically, while England had that pure mentality Tuchel talked about. Relying on defensive actions like Spence's sliding tackle isn't a sustainable long-term strategy when you're conceding that many big chances. Argentina simply overwhelmed England's penalty area with high-probability passes. It's fascinating how Scaloni adjusted his tactics to isolate England's double pivot, driving up their interceptions per 90 in the middle third and suffocating Kane's supply line. And that brings us perfectly into our deep dive. Let's really look under the hood of this Argentina team. Statistically, they are fascinating. They aren't just relying on Messi to carry them anymore. When you look at their goals and assists combined across the tournament, the distribution is incredibly widespread. Scaloni has built an ecosystem where the expected goals per 90 are generated from the wings and the midfield just as much as the forwards. They press aggressively, their tackles per 90 are in the top percentile of all teams, and their transition speed is deadly. Also, Keep an eye on Nico Paz. The data suggests he's becoming a crucial part of their future. But even in the present, his underlying passing metrics show he is absolutely ready if called upon to break down a low block.
You see data distributions and transition speeds, Nora, but I see something much older and much deeper. I see that classic Argentine fighting spirit. It has stayed so consistent during what has honestly been an imperfect World Cup for them. They haven't steamrolled everyone, but they refuse to give in. It's the texture of the shirt, the weight of the crest. You can't quantify the look in a player's eyes when they are down a goal and decide that losing simply isn't an option. They have this innate ability to pull a result out of the fire, turning a match into a street fight if they have to, and then producing a moment of sublime elegance right after. That balance of grit and grace is why they are defending champions. Speaking of elegance and legendary status, I want to take a moment for our Legend of the Game segment. We've talked about a lot of historic figures, but today I want to bring up Iker Casillas. San Iker. When you think about Spain reaching this final, you have to look back at 2010. Casillas wasn't just a goalkeeper. He was a monument between the sticks. I still remember the exact tension of that final against the Netherlands, the sound of the vuvuzelas, and then that one-on-one save he made against Robin with his toe. It wasn't about angles or statistics. It was pure instinct, sheer will, and the aura of a captain refusing to let his nation fall.
I love that save, Dad. And honestly, even the modern metrics respect San Iker. If we had advanced XGOT tracking back in 2010, his numbers in that tournament would be off the charts. He practically erased big chances missed by the opposition. Goalkeeping has evolved so much into being an 11th outfield player with distribution, but Casillas reminds us that shot-stopping efficiency and minimizing expected goals against in high-leverage, high-stress moments is still the ultimate currency for a keeper. He laid the psychological groundwork for this current Spanish generation's confidence. But let's pivot from 2010 to exactly what's happening off the pitch right now, because the internet is losing its collective mind over this tournament. First of all, the YouTube Creator Cup that's been running parallel to the tournament has been pulling in insane viewership numbers, almost rivaling some of the early group stage matches. And it's been confirmed that Post Malone is going to headline the closing ceremony, which is trending everywhere. But the craziest thing I've seen, a tweet from 5 years ago, just went completely viral. A fan literally predicted the exact finalists of this 2026 World Cup and explicitly stated that Argentina will win 3-2. The algorithm has pushed it to millions of timelines overnight.
Post Malone at a World Cup closing ceremony? I suppose I have to accept that the times are changing. The YouTube tournament sounds fun, though I do wonder if any of them know how to properly lace up a classic leather boot. But speaking of internet culture bleeding into the real world, did you see the situation back in the UK? Since England made that deep run, there was a pub chain hosting a Jude Bellingham look-alike contest where they were competing for a £1,966 Deliveroo voucher. 1966, obviously. Just brilliant. It perfectly captures that unique, self-deprecating but hopeful English fan atmosphere. It's those little cultural touchstones that make the World Cup feel like a truly global festival, even when the heartbreak inevitably arrives. And now, that global festival narrows down to just one pitch, one ball, and two teams. The final, Spain versus Argentina. This is what we've been waiting for, Nora. The stakes could not possibly be higher. On one side, you have Spain seeking to reclaim their crown and validate their new generation. On the other, Argentina defending their title, with Messi potentially waving a final goodbye to the grandest stage of all.
The stakes are astronomical. Tactically, it is the ultimate clash of philosophies. Spain's possession-based collective control, designed to choke the life out of the opposition's XG, versus Argentina's chaotic, high-pressing transitions and incredible shot creation efficiency. It's going to come down to who controls the midfield double pivot and whether Spain's high line can recover fast enough against Argentina's vertical counterattacks. The data suggests it's a coin toss, literally within the margin of error.
A coin toss in the data, but a guarantee of poetry on the pitch. Well, listeners, that is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us as we ride the emotional roller coaster of this incredible 2026 World Cup.
Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode, where we will finally be breaking down the ultimate match. Will it be Spanish control or Argentine passion taking home the trophy? We'll see you on the other side of the final.